Have you ever like really thought about, I don't know, the crazy amount of power we have in our mouths?
Mm.
I mean, your tongue alone is like this powerhouse, generating thousands of pounds of pressure every single day. Just think about that for a second.
Wow, yeah.
And today, we're diving into how you can actually harness that incredible muscle along with the rest of, I guess you could say, your oral landscape to unlock a whole new, I don't know, dimension of intimacy. And specifically, we're talking about oral sex, like the kind that genuinely blows your partner away, you know?
Oral sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the really interesting thing here is that the techniques for actually like profoundly enhancing this incredibly intimate act
Mm-hmm.
can be informed by, believe it or not, the principles of speech therapy
Wow.
and myofunctional therapy.
Yeah.
It's a connection most people honestly wouldn't even think about.
Right. I mean, speech therapy for oral sex.
Yeah.
It's not the first thing that comes to mind, you know?
Exactly. And that's what makes the source material we've got for you today so fascinating.
Okay.
Okay, so what is it?
It's this book called Blow Him Away, How to Give Him Mind-Blowing Oral Sex.
Blow him away.
Yeah. And it's by Marcy Michaels, written with Marie DeSalle.
Okay.
And what's so unique about this book is Marcy Michaels' background.
Okay.
She's not just, someone offering like anecdotal advice or something. She's actually a trained speech pathologist
Really?
and a myofunctional therapist.
Wow.
So it really begs the question, what are the secrets from those worlds that can, revolutionize something as personal as oral sex?
I'm really curious to hear about that.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting connection.
And the book really does try to lay out a very step-by-step approach to, achieving truly exceptional pleasure for your partner.
Yeah, and you shared this with us because you're looking to gain knowledge in this area quickly and thoroughly and enhance your skills.
Well, absolutely.
You want those aha moments,
Yeah.
the ones that shift your perspective and give you the tools to really improve.
And in this deep dive, we're going to extract the core principles and the most effective techniques from this book. We're going to focus on, the speech therapy side of things,
Right.
and we're going to help you understand how to give more pleasurable oral sex. That's the goal.
Okay, so let's unpack this surprising link, right, between speech therapy and oral sex.
Yeah.
So Marcy, the author, she shares her personal journey of sexual rediscovery.
Okay.
This was after a marriage that wasn't really fulfilling her needs.
That's okay.
And get this, she realized that the training she had in speech therapy actually held the key to like incredible oral sex.
No way.
Yeah, you're kidding. And this wasn't just a random thought she had.
Yeah.
It was sparked by a very memorable encounter
Ooh.
with a speech therapist she met in Atlantic City.
Oh, wow. That's quite a story.
Talk about an unexpected catalyst, right? So, I mean, the book really does emphasize that it's built on years of speech therapy practice,
Wow.
which is so fascinating to consider. It makes you wonder, like, what are the specific elements of speech therapy that are, so powerfully transferable to this realm of sexual intimacy?
It really does.
Like, are we underestimating or misunderstanding the potential of the mouth
Mm-hmm.
as a tool for pleasure?
Right. Exactly.
So before we get into the, all the nitty-gritty details of specific techniques, I think there's a really important note about safety that the author really emphasizes,
Okay.
which is she stresses the importance of practicing these skills within, relationships that are built on trust.
Of course.
And crucially, she points out that while oral sex might, seem like it's lower risk for STDs compared to, unprotected intercourse, it's definitely not risk-free,
Right.
especially for the person giving oral sex.
Yeah.
So the advice is really clear. When you're with new partners, using condoms or dental dams is essential.
It just makes sense, right? It's about intimacy, but also health and well-being.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the book jumps right into a pretty bold assertion, actually.
Yeah.
And it is that most people, get this, aren't actually very skilled at giving oral sex.
Interesting.
So their premise is that truly mind-blowing oral sex should be the norm, but it often, just
Yeah.
this isn't.
It isn't.
And they argue that this isn't primarily about, psychological blocks or social awkwardness or anything like that.
Okay.
It actually often comes down to a simple lack of specific skills and knowledge.
It's a learned skill, you're saying.
Yeah.
Not something people are just born knowing how to do.
Yeah, they make that argument.
Huh. That's actually a really good point when you think about it. I mean, think about the mouth. What's its primary purpose, right? To process food, to help us communicate.
Yeah,
Using it for pleasure in such an intimate way, I mean, it's uniquely human, really. And some cultures, well, they've historically viewed this whole aspect of sexuality with a degree of, shame or stigma.
exactly. And they also make a really interesting point about the power of giving pleasure in a relationship,
Okay.
especially through something as intimate as oral sex.
Yeah.
It's different from simply sharing pleasure like you might, in intercourse.
Yeah.
Actively and lovingly giving pleasure in this way, it communicates a deep level of, care and desire for your partner.
It's almost like using a megaphone to tell them how much you enjoy them.
They actually use that analogy, yeah.
Wow. So the act of giving becomes an incredibly powerful form of communication in itself.
Totally.
So,
And here's the thing. The book argues that effective oral sex really demands a strong and highly controlled mouth.
interesting.
And they use this analogy that really stuck with me. They're like, imagine someone who's never played a musical instrument, right?
Okay.
And they're trying to perform some, complex piece.
Oh, yeah.
Like their movements would probably be really clumsy and imprecise.
For sure. I can only imagine.
And similarly, they're saying an untrained person attempting intricate tongue movements during oral sex, well, they might experience a lot of jaw strain or other, awkwardness,
Oh.
potentially leading to uh, less than pleasurable outcomes, let's just say,
Yeah.
or even accidentally painful ones, right?
Oh, yeah.
So just like any skill, mastery really requires understanding and practice.
That makes sense. And it challenges that often unspoken assumption about sexual acts that they should just come naturally without effort, like some sort of magical instinct.
Right.
But it sounds like skill development actually plays a much bigger role.
Exactly.
Mm.
And they don't shy away from addressing people who, maybe avoid oral sex or view it as a chore.
Yeah.
They call it outright pleasure sabotage, which I love.
Outright pleasure sabotage.
They're really hitting hard on that because, they say so many people actually find it intensely pleasurable, sometimes even more so than intercourse.
It's true. A lot of people feel that way.
Right. And they even say your mouth, like literally, could be your most potent sexual tool.
I like that. I mean, it makes you think about how we perceive and utilize this part of our body.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. And, during oral sex, the receiver often has the chance to completely focus on the sensations in a way that's different, during other forms of intimacy.
That's a really good point.
And that heightened focus, well, it can make oral sex a particularly memorable and impactful act.
It can. And I think what's really interesting is that unlike a lot of sex guides, which tend to, recycle the same basic advice or just focus on positions, this book actually incorporates specific tongue and lip exercises.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They argue that this whole crucial element of training the oral musculature is often missing from other resources.
Like it's a whole training regimen.
Yeah.
I love that. So this brings us to the author's area of expertise, right?
Right.
Speech therapy as a form of, what do they call it, Olympic training for oral sex.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you elaborate on how those two seemingly different fields actually connect?
I can. So they explain that while various, branches of speech therapy might not necessarily have a direct bearing on oral sex,
Yeah.
myofunctional therapy,
Right.
which specifically focuses on, the function and coordination of the muscles in the mouth, lips, and tongue.
Okay.
It provides an incredibly strong foundation.
Interesting.
So it's all about building strength, increasing control, and improving range of motion in these often underutilized muscles.
Underutilized, yeah. I mean, we use our mouths all the time, but maybe not in those specific ways.
No, they argue that.
Yeah.
And they even debunk the idea that that simply practicing speech sounds is enough.
Okay.
So myofunctional therapy views these oral muscles as really powerful forces that can even influence the alignment of your teeth
Wow.
and the structure of your jaw.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they're emphasizing that, that dynamic relationship between muscle and bone. And they even say that over time, muscles will always win out.
Huh. So the tongue and those other muscles in the mouth, they're constantly shaping and influencing the structure of our faces.
They are, according to this book.
That's amazing.
And they introduce this really interesting concept, which is that the tongue is an exceptionally strong muscle,
Okay.
capable of exerting thousands of pounds of pressure daily. Like, that's insane, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. Like, we just don't even realize, the amount of force our tongues are capable of.
We don't.
Yeah.
And that force is significant enough, they say, to alter the architecture of your mouth and the positioning of your teeth.
That's a powerful thought. We usually think of tongues as, soft and flexible,
Yeah.
not a source of all this immense power,
Right.
even if it's mostly unconscious.
And just like any muscle, there's a correct way to position it and an incorrect way.
Oh, I see.
So the book talks about the hard palate on the roof of your mouth being designed to actually withstand this constant pressure.
Okay.
But they say most people habitually rest their tongues incorrectly.
Really?
Yeah. And the author actually challenges the listeners to think about where their tongue is resting right now.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, are you pushing it against your teeth?
Okay, so where is everyone's tongue resting?
Is it lying flat at the bottom of your jaw?
This is a test.
Yeah, like try to become aware of it.
Okay.
Because they say improper positioning over time can lead to a weakening of the tongue and surrounding muscles,
Mm.
and even contribute to issues like facial strain, jaw tightness,
Okay.
the gag reflex even,
Wow.
and difficulties with kissing, and believe it or not, snoring.
Huh. So all of these seemingly unrelated problems could actually stem from something as simple as resting tongue posture.
That's what they say.
That's wild.
Yeah, so then they lay out these tongue realities.
Tongue realities.
So first, smoking, they say, has a huge negative impact on your tongue.
Okay.
It makes it, lazy and lifeless, basically.
Think so?
Second, your tongue actually requires specific exercises to develop its full potential.
Okay.
They argue that because everyday actions like eating and talking and even kissing can reinforce bad habits,
I guess that makes sense.
stemming from incorrect tongue positioning.
Interesting.
And third, and maybe most surprisingly, they say the vast majority of people are completely unaware of the correct resting position for their tongue.
Wow. And the author has seen thousands of patients, right?
Thousands. And she says that not a single one initially had their tongue in the optimal position.
Wow. That's a pretty compelling statistic.
It is, but the good news is there are some really amazing side benefits to doing these tongue exercises.
Okay, like what?
So people report feeling better overall,
Mhm.
reduced tension in the face, neck, and shoulders.
Okay.
There can even be aesthetic benefits like improved facial symmetry. Yeah. And they even kind of playfully suggest that you might gain a new way of assessing potential partners
Oh.
based on their oral posture.
Oh, you mean like looking at how they hold their tongue and mouth?
Yeah, they say it can be a subtle but revealing clue.
That's fascinating. So these exercises can impact our physical well-being, maybe even our social interactions.
I see they can. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about preparation and mindset,
Okay.
because the book addresses this common assumption that sex should just happen naturally,
Right.
effortlessly. And it points out the pitfalls of that expectation, especially when it comes to something as nuanced as oral sex.
Yeah.
Comfort and skill are essential ingredients, they say, for a truly enjoyable experience.
That's a good point. It's like saying, oh, you should just instinctively know how to cook a gourmet meal. Some things take practice.
Exactly. And they acknowledge that, during sex, unexpected things can happen.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes even funny things.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
And having a sense of humor can be really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
They even tell a story about a partner bursting into laughter during oral sex.
Oh, no.
It was kind of a messy outcome, but ultimately lighthearted.
Yeah, it's important to remember that these things happen. It's life,
Right. And they also emphasize that the goal of great oral sex isn't just about achieving orgasm.
Oh, okay.
In fact, they say becoming too fixated on that outcome, it can actually be counterproductive.
Yeah, it creates pressure.
Performance anxiety.
Yeah.
And they say approach it with, experimentation and playfulness.
Like a journey, not just a destination.
Yeah,
Focus on the sensations, the connection,
right.
and let go of that need for a specific outcome. That's powerful.
So the book also dives into some of the mental blocks that can really affect the pleasure of oral sex,
Okay.
both for the giver, like, performance anxiety, fear, judgment,
Yeah.
and for the receiver. Feelings of vulnerability,
Mhm.
self-doubt, body image concerns.
It's so true. The emotional side of things can really impact the physical experience.
Yeah. So for the giver, they offer some pre-rendezvous relaxation tips, like wearing comfortable clothes,
Mhm.
taking time to unwind beforehand,
Okay.
and even practicing some positive self-affirmations.
I like that. It's all about setting the stage for a more relaxed and enjoyable encounter.
Yeah. And for the receiver, they address this, you know, common distraction reaction.
Distraction reaction.
Yeah. And they suggest things like scheduling time to address any worries before getting intimate and dedicating time to unwind before sex.
I see. So it's about clearing your mind and being present in the moment.
Exactly. They also highlight the importance of open communication if the receiver is feeling distracted during oral sex,
Yeah.
but they suggest framing it gently.
Mm-hmm.
Saying something like, I'm feeling a little distracted right now,
Right.
rather than, this isn't doing it for me.
Yeah. That's much better. It's about being honest, but also maintaining a positive dynamic.
Yeah. And they really try to address body image concerns too.
Mm.
They emphasize that, most people feel some level of self-consciousness,
Oh, for sure. I think that's totally normal.
and that self-criticism can really hinder, enjoyment for both people involved.
Absolutely. It's like that inner critic that can sabotage intimacy.
Totally. Then they get into some of the common challenges that people encounter during oral sex.
Oh, like what?
Well, things like lockjaw,
Ooh.
the aptly named tooth monster,
Okay, yeah. Ouch.
excessive saliva, which they call the drowning pool,
Drowning pool. I like that.
then a sluggish tongue, which they call the tongue depressive.
Interesting. So they're giving names to these common issues?
They are.
It makes them easier to talk about, maybe less intimidating?
And they talk about a flabby or uncoordinated tongue
Okay.
and the dreaded, of course, gag reflex.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that one.
But the encouraging thing is that they say these are all issues that can be improved.
Really?
Yeah, with practice and the right techniques.
Yeah. That's great to hear. It offers hope. Like these things aren't permanent roadblocks.
Right. And they also talk about the crucial role of overall body relaxation.
Okay.
So paying attention to tension in, your neck, shoulders, jaw.
Makes sense. If you're tense all over, it's going to affect everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then they introduce this key anatomical landmark,
Okay.
which they call the spot.
The spot. What is the spot exactly?
Okay, it's on the roof of your mouth.
Okay.
It's specifically the alveolar ridge, which is that little bumpy part just behind your upper teeth.
Okay. I know what you're talking about.
They say it's the optimal resting place for your tongue
Hmm.
and a crucial point of contact for a lot of the exercises.
I see.
And they highlight some benefits, like preventing the tongue from interfering with your lip movements.
Okay.
And they say it could even stimulate blood flow to the brain, which might help you focus and concentrate.
Wow, interesting. So the spot becomes like a central point for developing better oral control and awareness.
Totally. All right, so let's move on to something that might seem, simple, but it's incredibly important.
Oh,
Kissing.
kissing.
The book really emphasizes that maximizing pleasure in kissing, it actually lays a vital foundation for all forms of, more intimate lingual caresses.
Yeah. It makes sense. Kissing is like the gateway, right?
Yeah, they call it that, yeah.
Yeah.
And they address common complaints about, like, lackluster kisses,
Okay.
which often stem from just using a tiny portion of the outer lips.
Yeah.
So they say it's all about engaging the entire lips,
Okay.
including those soft inner surfaces.
For a way more fulfilling kiss.
Yeah, like you're really connecting, not just bumping lips.
They actually say it's the difference between, dry lip bumper car kisses
Okay.
or the uncomfortable feeling of someone eating your face because they're rolling their lips out too far.
Yeah, nobody wants that eating your face kiss.
Yeah, that sounds awful. But they're making the point that our lips are muscles too, just like our tongues. Oh, yeah. I never really thought about it that way.
And developing lip strength is crucial for, more effective caresses.
Huh. Interesting. So they have specific exercises for the lips too.
They do. They mentioned a couple foundational kissing exercises called Pucker Up and Eat, O like Swoon,
Well, I love those names.
which are all about building, basic lip control and strength.
That's cool. It's like training your lips to be more expressive and responsive.
Exactly. And then they introduce some more advanced lip exercises,
Oh,
things like the saltwater pump.
the saltwater pump. What's that?
It involves using salt water, engaging the front and sides of your lips.
Okay.
And then there's the lip massage, where you use air to create movement.
Oh, okay.
And then there's this exercise called monkey face,
Monkey face.
where you
Yeah.
actually combine salt water and air. And these are all designed to increase lip dexterity,
Okay.
achieve greater softness and responsiveness.
It's interesting how they're using external elements like salt water and air to enhance the lips and make them more, I guess, more sensitive.
Right. And then they have this button-up exercise, which is actually really interesting.
What's that?
It involves using a button and a piece of string to strengthen your lip muscles against resistance.
Oh, wow. That's clever.
They say the goal of all these exercises is to cultivate supple, soft lips
Okay.
with maximized tone and energy.
So it's not just about mechanics of movement.
Well,
It's
all right.
about the texture, the responsiveness, like the aliveness of the lips.
Yeah, they talk about that. And then they also include an exercise called tongue-tied, which is specifically for refining tongue control
Okay.
and the ability to get a precise point.
Oh, like a sharp tongue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they also talk about what a healthy tongue should look like.
Oh,
So a nice, even pink color.
interesting.
Yeah. And they really emphasize the tongue's versatility as a sensory tool.
I mean, the tongue really is amazing when you think about all the things it can do.
Yeah, it is. All right, so now let's get into the realm of oral etiquette.
Oral etiquette. Okay.
Yeah, starting with the very first kiss.
Okay.
And they even include this this pretty provocative quote from Madonna, actually,
Oh.
where she suggests that some straight men need to be emasculated with a man's tongue in their mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. And they use this to kind of underscore how a negative kissing experience can be so unpleasant
Right.
and even feel disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean, a bad kiss can be a real turnoff. It's
Yeah.
about being mindful and considerate, right? Not just diving in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they describe this progression of kisses, actually,
Oh.
starting with the first
The
kiss,
first kiss. Okay.
which is just a simple soft touch of the lips to signal initial interest.
A gentle hello.
Yeah. And then it moves to the relax, I'm a great person kiss.
Okay.
Light, reassuring kisses on the cheeks and forehead.
Like building trust and comfort.
Yeah. And then they move to the good enough for seconds kiss,
Oh.
which is more explorative, repetitive touching of the lips
Mhm.
to really signal, desire.
Okay.
Then there's the shower of kisses, which is light, quick kisses all around the mouth.
That sounds sweet.
It does. And then you've got the relationship changer,
Okay.
which is a firmer kiss, using the whole surface of the lips to say, I want you.
Ah.
And then there's the Hollywood kiss, where one partner gently nudges the other's mouth open.
This is great. You're giving us this whole roadmap of kissing techniques.
Yeah, and then comes the tongue exploration,
Okay.
which emphasizes a really soft, almost silky presentation of the tongue,
Right.
prioritizing exploration, not, aggression. And they advise against immediately pushing past the teeth.
Yeah. Gotta be gentle with that tongue.
Then it goes to the I want a piece of you kiss,
Oh.
which is firmer, deeper kisses with more active tongue movement.
Okay.
And you start incorporating your hands.
Okay. Things are heating up.
Then you've got the love anvil,
The love anvil.
a more intense kiss for when passion is high, using rhythmic tongue pressure against the taste bud side of the mouth.
Interesting.
And finally, the erotic nibble, which is, a carefully controlled and gentle lip nip to heighten sensation.
Okay.
And they emphasize the importance of tongue placement on the spot during this to prevent jaw clenching.
Ah, yes. The spot. That makes sense.
And they advise practicing this technique on yourself first.
Yeah, that's smart. Gotta know your own pressure points before you try them out on someone else.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about something that is absolutely crucial for good oral sex.
Okay.
And it's genuine enthusiasm.
Oh, that's a good one.
The book stresses that sincere desire and engagement are they're paramount.
Yeah, you can't fake it, you know?
And they say that those qualities can often outweigh, sheer technical skill.
That makes sense. It's about connection, passion.
Yeah.
The technical stuff is important, but the emotion behind it, that's what makes it truly special.
Exactly. And they say that if you're not in the mood, it's way better to communicate that.
Yeah.
Offer a rain check
Right.
rather than going through the motions without really being into it.
Absolutely. Be honest and respectful of yourself and your partner.
And they emphasize finishing what you start,
Yeah,
avoiding interruptions.
that's important.
Also, they caution against using your teeth or nails with excessive pressure on the penis, which is worth noting.
Yeah, good advice.
But they also point out that, some men actually like firm caresses and more substantial touch,
Okay.
not just light, fleeting movements. And that gentle nibbles, when done right, can be really enjoyable.
Right. So it's about understanding individual preferences,
Hmm.
finding that sweet spot between gentleness and a more assertive touch.
Exact. Okay, so here's a point they make that cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
Lubrication is key.
Oh, for sure. Lubrication is essential.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And they say you need adequate lubrication for comfortable and pleasurable oral sex. They even give an amount.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they suggest about a tablespoon for a good blowjob.
Okay, a tablespoon. Got it.
And they recommend water-based or flavored lubricants if, you don't have a specific product handy.
Okay.
They also say to warm it up in your hands before applying it to avoid, that jarring cold sensation.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Warm it up a little bit.
And crucially, they say to use water-based lube on the penis if you're using a condom.
Right, right. Because oil-based lubes can break down latex.
Right.
Important safety tip.
And they really encourage moving away from, that linear orgasm-focused approach.
Yeah.
They say to put the emphasis on making sure your partner is experiencing pleasure at every stage.
That's such a good point. It's about the journey, the connection, the shared experience,
Totally.
not just racing toward the finish line.
Right. And they actually include this, what they call an oral sex fitness test.
Oral sex fitness test.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a way to assess your current level of tongue control.
Oh, I like this. So people can see where they're at. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you take this test?
They have simple exercises like trying to